What's up, everybody? Corey back here again with another review. This time I'm looking at Weird West. Yes, I've been looking forward to this game for a long time, and I've put near 30 hours into it, playing the game fully, reloading saves, experiencing different choices that the game has to offer, and going back and getting those sweet miscellaneous achievements, and I am ready to talk about it. So let's start off with what it is, what the gameplay is like, and how I found it. Well, it's an action RPG. It's isometric. The devs like to give it the title of immersive sim, and I can see where all of these fit into this game. You are put in the role of a certain character. Now, no spoilers in this as best as I can do, but the first character, it's pretty well known, is a bounty hunter. Now, there's been a lot of confusion about this game of can you create your character and put points into different things and like that, and you are playing a certain character for that certain chapter. You then move on to other characters, and there is an overarching story that takes place throughout this Weird West universe. And if you interconnect a story like that, you immediately will grab my attention. I'm a sucker for those types of tales. And so you're going to take control of a character in each of these chapters. And the characters themselves, they do have different abilities to an extent that you can find collectibles on and put those points into those different abilities. But for the most part, a lot of the abilities that you're going to be using and seeing are the same. There's a second type of collectible that allows you to not add abilities, but add perks. These perks actually stick with your characters in subsequent chapters. So you're going to be able to attune that to your playstyle and keep that going throughout the rest of the game. But you will be taking this character and you're going to be hitting some main story plots. And as you progress through the game, you're going to be seeing side quests pop up. You're going to be seeing dialogue from other characters change from chapter to chapter depending on who you're playing. And if you're revisiting a town, just pay attention because their dialogue will change. The immersive sim part of this is not so much that it's not first person, so it's not immersive in that aspect, but you are able to interact with a lot of things in this universe, whether it's picking up a jug to throw at somebody or want to just sit down at a chair. Not really useful in the game, but it does add that level of immersion. And then just about anything that the real world could contain, you can almost search for in this game. If there's a cabinet nearby or a desk or even a person, if you want to pickpocket and be a little sneaky, you can loot all of these things. And the things that you're going to be looting are ammos, weapons, general junk that you can sell for your currency in the game. And so it really, it feels alive because I was revisiting places that I've already looted and they were still looted. And then that comes to the part about choice. Everything that you do in this game has a consequence, good or bad, and that lives on throughout the game. And if you pay attention, you're going to be hearing and seeing references to other chapters. If you did a certain action, that action has consequences that will follow you through. So if you revisit a town after maybe doing a crime, you're going to be, watched a little bit more. And depending on the crime, you might have a bounty put on your head and you have to fight off some bounty hunters. To the opposite effect of that, this whole game takes place on one map, and you have different points of interest in this map, whether it be a cave or a little oasis or a temple or a town. You're going to be traveling the map, and there is a day-night cycle to it. Traveling throughout these different points will cost some of your time, but really time didn't seem to matter too much, except for certain objectives have time restrictions, so you need to get them done in so many days. And then the shops that are in the game, they do close at night. That was really the only thing I saw with the time that, kind of made a difference. So yeah, going back to a location, you're typically going to be in that location for a specific purpose, whether it is to complete a bounty for yourself help a stranger with a side quest, or progress the main story. Usually you're going in to talk to a certain person, maybe kill a certain person, maybe just find something to bring back. A little bit of a fetch quest, if you will. And it's pretty typical for action RPG type quest in my mind. And as you go throughout each of the characters, which I want to say is about 5 hours, give or take, depending on how much time you want to go and look at everything and read everything. My initial playtime to beat the game probably took me about 25 hours or so, maybe a little less. And then I've just been going back and getting more since then. But you're going to be doing that about 5 times. And like I said, the story is overarching across the chapters. And while they feel independent, they feel pretty much like a chapter in a book. They are all telling a similar story in different ways. Now, the only thing that might be off-putting about that to know is that each time you start over with a different chapter, it's kind of like starting over with a new game in a sense. Not a whole lot carries over, and you kind of have to figure out what can carry over and how you can be smart about it. There is a bank vault that you can pay for and have access to and kind of put some things. Otherwise, the only thing that carries forward are your perks that I mentioned before. So just keep that in mind. You're kind of going to get that starting over feel multiple times throughout this game. As far as combat goes, because you will be doing a lot of combat, it feels like a twin stick shooter. You will have to engage your weapon to, kind of get in that combat mode. And from there, you're able to use the right stick to pretty much point in any direction. And then you just use your trigger to fire. There are those abilities I talked about before where you can maybe activate like a bullet time mode where you can do a really slow motion dodge. You can change your next bullet to be an explosion bullet, things like that. And so you can really change up the gameplay. You can also go in guns blazing like I mostly did, or you can choose to be sneaky and approach people from behind, take them out very quietly, and place their body somewhere else not to be found. It is really up to you. On the note of taking the combat as you please, they tell you up front, you can actually kill a very large amount of people in this game, including key characters. And I thought this was really neat. And again, this goes with your choices matter. If you decide to kill a main person, even if you don't know that they're a main person later on, you might get to skip part of a quest because, well, you can't go back to them and talk to them. They really give you that freedom. And I think that is pretty smart. And I think that adds to the immersion, to be honest. But overall, I really enjoyed my time with this game. I like the choices in games. It reminds me a lot of Fable back in the day when that was a big deal, and this feels like my choices are a big deal because there are effects later on to the game that I see based off my choices. At the end of each chapter, you get a recap of what you have done. And one thing I really like about the game that I think is worth noting is the save system. There are a handful of manual saves. I think maybe 10 or so at the time that I'm doing this review. That's manual saves. You also have one of my favorite things, a quick save and quick load that you can do at a lot of times to maybe save real quick before you do a certain action that may have a different outcome depending on what you do, and you can kind of finagle the story to your liking, and I really appreciate that. Besides those 2 saves, you also have 3, and I think that I just announced today that they're adding more auto saves. So if you're not a mindful saver, the auto saves are a good point to say, oh, this is not going the way I need to reload, and maybe put you right back at the beginning of the section that you entered, where you can kind of do it a little different. So I really commend them on the save functionality of this game. It really appeals to me and I really enjoy it. As far as the graphics go, I dig these graphics. It's very much a spaghetti western with a weird twist. There are werewolves, there are mutilated pig monsters, there are witches, but it still feels like it's a western game for sure. And I love isometric games, and this one, it just fits for me. I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of improvement that I need to see, but certainly, I would welcome it. But what they gave, I really appreciate that. The audio, of the game is good. I really like the narration. The gun sounds feel good. I even like the songs. Been listening to the soundtrack on Spotify. One thing that I wish was there more was the narration. There is a lot of text in this game, and the narration that they do give me, I really enjoy, but there's a lot of text in this game, and a lot of the lore is hidden behind text, and for me, which is just something that doesn't appeal to me, and I eventually start to skip that. Now when it comes to story, I'll read it, but if I have to read to get that extra lore, I will typically skip that. And this game unfortunately has a lot of lore, which is a good thing, but it is hidden behind actual reading of the text. So that's just a personal qualm for me with that. Longevity of the game, the last point here, again, I think they advertise 20 to 25 hours for the story of the game if you're not going in trying to do every single thing. And I agree with that. That does match up with my playtime. And then, like I said, I've been going back and enjoying looking at different choices, mopping up some miscellaneous achievements. And yeah, I'm at about 30 hours with the game so far, and I think it is a good time. And of course, it is launched day one on Game Pass, but I really do. I'm recommending this to my Diablo friends, telling them about how the story and the gameplay kind of feels like Diablo, but a little slower paced. And so I definitely think if you like action RPGs, this is one to look for. If you like consequences in your games, definitely look at Weird West. I don't think you'll be disappointed, but I'm going to have my numbered review scores on xboxtavern.com, so I do implore you to check that out if you haven't already, as well as all the other reviews that we put up almost each and every day. So that'll do it for me for Weird West. Go play it, check it out, and I will catch you in the next review. See ya.